NHL hockey matches and the All-Star game. Now for the postseason when the action really heats. You'll see the Smythe division with Wayne Gretzky, Hakan Loob, next year's Stanley Edmonton Oilers. You'll see Edmonton Oilers. You'll see the Norris division with Steve Yzerman of Detroit and Dennis Savard of Chicago. You'll see the Adams division with Montreal's all-star defenseman Larry Robinson and super sniper Pierre Turgeon of Buffalo. And you'll see the Patrick division where Home Team Sports brings you Lemieux and Hextall. And you'll see Gardner, Langway, Malarchik, Stevens, Ridley, Courtnall, and every Capitals home game throughout the playoffs. Finally, hockey's best teams face off in May in the Stanley Cup Championship. And you'll see every game right here and nowhere else on Home Team Sports. Caps.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Ed Randall, and welcome back to our Sports Nightly studios. The Philadelphia Flyers boast at least one rabid fan who calls on divine intervention. Stan Fischler tells us about a fan who gives new meaning to the term faithful fan.
One of the most unusual characters on the NHL scene is a Catholic priest who, among other things, is author of innumerable hockey articles, is an ice historian, and doubles as spiritual advisor to the Philadelphia Flyers.
The first year the Flyers came to Philadelphia, I went to a game and fell in love with the sport immediately. As far as with the team, I started writing some articles for our Catholic paper in Philadelphia, the Catholic Standard and Times, on Dave Poulin and one or two other aspects in sports.
When he's not at hockey games, Father Casey is busy with church activities in the Philadelphia area.
My job is to take care of our retired and sick and ill priests. The assistant rector at Villa St. Joseph, which is right outside the city limits, and I take care of the building and the employees that we have to take care of the priests, and also I'm chaplain at a nursing home.
Father Casey not only attends all Flyers home games at the Spectrum, but frequently attends road games as well. As a member of the writing corps, he's accorded credentials and always sits in the press box.
As a hockey fan, it is a great way to even learn more about the sport and to meet people that really are important in hockey. Gordie Howe, Mark Howe, and just all the way through. It's just been a great experience, and I like writing. It's a great hobby for me.
Father Casey is acutely aware of the Flyers' image as the Broad Street Bullies, but he says it's not against his religious principles.
I don't see them as being dirty. I see them as being aggressive. Hockey is an aggressive sport. The way the National Hockey League is right now, it's not a no-check league. You have to be aggressive. You have to be physical. And there is an intimidation aspect to it. Flyers have used that to their advantage through the years, and I don't see anything wrong with that.
Father Casey likens himself to a chaplain on the battlefield. As he puts it, hockey is a war game on ice. Stan Fischler, Sports Channel.
This was the NHL trading deadline. Details of that and highlights when we return. More veterans are home tonight to the surging Boston Bruins, who have lost just one of their last 10 games on the road. Early first period action, Boston capitalizing on the power play. Gary Galley will let one go through a crowd. Jeff Hackett is screened. He never saw it. Boston Bruins leading the New York Islanders by the score of 1-0. That game is in the first period. The Toronto Maple Leafs are at Le Colisée in Quebec tonight to face the Nordiques and hoping of making it 3 straight wins over Quebec this season. Early first period, Toronto draws first blood. Peter Inachek picks up the drop pass and feeds Daniel Marois, who will backhand the puck into the net. Toronto leads 1-0. Still first period. Watch Jeff Brown's shot from the point hit the post, but Quebec's Marc Fortier bangs in the rebound for the tying goal. At the end of one period, Toronto and Quebec are tied at 1 apiece. Elsewhere around the National Hockey League, the New Jersey Devils are playing in St. Louis in a game that will begin momentarily. The Devils undefeated this year against the Blues. The Red Wings are playing the North Stars at Minnesota. The Red Wings having a very fine record this year in the Norris Division, and they are 5-1 this year against Minnesota. Jets and Flames tonight. That will begin in about an hour and 5 minutes. Jets having trouble with the Flames. Flames handling just about everybody at home this season. And one of the big games on the schedule tonight, Mario Lemieux and the Pittsburgh Penguins facing the Kings and Wayne Gretzky in Los Angeles. The Penguins having trouble in their last 6 road games. The NHL trade deadline has come and gone with these results. In a blockbuster, the Washington Capitals have dealt their all-time leading goal scorer, Mike Gartner, along with high-scoring defenseman Larry Murphy to Minnesota in exchange for the North Stars' all-time leading scorer Dino Ciccarelli and defenseman Bob Rouse. The New York Rangers acquired ex-Buffalo captain, defenseman Lindy Ruff, for future considerations. The Detroit Red Wings acquired left wing Torrey Robertson, Hartford's all-time leader in penalty minutes, in exchange for defenseman Jim Pavis. The New York Islanders continued divesting themselves of veterans. They moved left wing Greg Gilbert to Chicago and defenseman Reed Larson to Minnesota, both for future considerations. That's Sports Nightly. I'm Ed Randall, and after this message, it's back to the Spectrum in Philadelphia for more action between the Edmonton Oilers and the Flyers.
In the second, Boston leading the Islanders 1-0 in the first. The one the Flyers are watching, New Jersey and St. Louis later.
Travel arranged through Northwest, serving 220 cities in North America, Asia, Europe, and the Pacific. Northwest, America's most experienced airline across the Pacific.
Any big shooters in that first period of play, Bill?
Not as far as shots on goal. The most significant numbers, I think, are in the faceoffs. The Flyers have not had a good year on faceoffs, but boy, they sure had a good first period against a team that has good faceoff men. The Flyers won 15 of 20 draws, Mike, for 75%. Ron Sutter only lost 1 of 8. So that's a positive sign for the pivots.
The rancher from Ancaster, Ontario, Bob Myers, ready to put it in play between Mike Bullard and, on this opening faceoff, Norman Lacombe. Puck dealt along to McClellan, who forces it back in near Hextall. Now, as this period begins, neither team is shorthanded. Puck sent out of play, and so 11 seconds in, we stop for the first time. Kaylee Madison Bullard. That's quite a name, isn't it, for a new baby girl born to Mike and Linda Bullard this afternoon. 8 pounds and an ounce and 20.5 inches. Congratulations to them. The Manthas are still on hold, Mo and Kathy, still waiting for the arrival of their child. Well, you talk about a season of emotions. Dealt eventually to the Flyers from St. Louis, and then coming here and being such a sensation, then having the new baby girl born. Oh, a deflection right off that face-off, and the shot that ricocheted off the post. Puck comes back to the point. Hallward, a shot save. Rebound, another save. And a good attack being generated right here by the Oilers. Eklund can't clear. McTavish able to keep it. Wrist shot, and that one sailed wide. McClellan booms into the boards. Puck kept along by Lacombe, but they must recover at center ice. 35 seconds into this second period of play. Flyers ahead 4-2, but it was nearly 4-3 on a couple of occasions here in this first half minute of the period. Puck banked right back off for Kerr, but McTavish rolls it along. Mike Bullard striding toward it. Forehands it along the boards, and it is Eklund scooping one along that is taken by Muni. Craig Muni, one of the leading plus-minus players in the league. He is a plus 40, second only to Doug Gilmore of Calgary, who's a plus 41. Icing called against the Flyers, and back it'll come near Hextall.
The Oilers came within a couple of inches of getting another one by Ron Hextall. Off the face-off, then back to Randy Gregg. Watch the post on the left. There it is, right off the inside of the post. And I think it was Craig McTavish that scored a deflected goal in the first period that got his stick on it. Let's see. Here comes the shot. You can see that McTavish has position on Mike Bullard. That's McClellan in front on Mo Mantlin at the face-off dot. McTavish had gotten position on Mike Bullard. Once you lose the face-off, boy, you got to scramble to make sure that your man is tied up and can't come back into play.
The Oilers are going to really have some hammers to deal with physically in that series against Los Angeles. Dave Brown will have a lot of that responsibility. He just put one into a tangle of skates at the front of the net. Puck worked along and kept by Jimmy Carson. Carson a shot, and Brown reaching for it on the rebound. Brown goes to the wall and is checked there by Ron Sutter. Still the battle on, and it's flung out by Brown, but cut off by Jay Wells. Dives to try to keep it moving for the Flyers, and with the help of Brian Propp, they get it onto Sutter, and here's Tocchet moving up the wing, charging toward the puck is Fuhr, and he's able to brush it away. Second effort, and he's able to lift it out of play, but the ruling is that it went off the glass, and so there'll be no penalty assessed to Grant Fuhr.
Didn't take Bob Myers long to call that one off. Everybody wanted the penalty, but Brian Propp was right there and had his stick clash with Grant Fuhr just when he shot, so that's close enough. There's Dave Brown. He's still sporting a black eye from a high stick that he received last week. Got a few stitches just on the bridge of his nose, the inside of the bridge of his nose.
He was saying, I was in on a breakaway, and then he started laughing.
Yeah. He's a lot more relaxed for this game than he was for his first game. He was traded just 24 hours before the last game the Oilers played here and ended up suiting up. It was in doubt most of the day, but a lot more relaxed now. He's had, how long has it been? A couple of months to think about it.
Puck back to the point, and a shot sailed wide.
A month at least.
Right, early part of February. Brushed all the way back down, and going to get this one is Mo Mantha taking it from Hextall. Mantha's pass came back to the point. Shot blocked off, though, by Acton, and here's a 2-on-1 potentially for the Flyers. Poulin moving in with Tocchet. Poulin has the goalie down, flips one out in front, and it ricocheted off some bodies wide. Now Poulin throws it through the crease wide. Moving in for this one is Keith Acton, trying to knock it away from Anderson. Still the battle continues. Puck work back to Samuelson. Floated one right into the catching glove of Fuhr, and he's just going to wait. Dave Poulin moved up the wing with that one and seemed to have an option, but the one thing that may have worked against him was that Rick Tocchet was just catching up to the play.
I think what worked against him, Mike, was that he decided to go wide. And once you go wide, now look at the traffic in front. Count the number of people. All right? It was a 2-on-1. Now what is it? A 2-on-5, including Grant Fuhr, by the time he tried to dump it out. He had the option to pass to Rick Tocchet at one point, but that option disappeared very quickly. And then Grant Fuhr made a pretty smart play. He came out to force Dave Poulin. Poulin looked for a place to shoot. He couldn't see anything, so he went wide to try and buy some time.
University of Notre Damer Dave Poulin, the captain of the Flyers, sees this one brushed along past Samuelson, and going to get it is Mantha. Mo Mantha drills it off the boards. It ricocheted off Tocchet and Charlie Huddy. Spun by Simpson. Good intercept by Tocchet. Moves back up the wing. Shovels one that's into Grant Fuhr. Out in front, Acton, a save, and another save made by Grant Fuhr on Keith Acton. He stopped him twice.
Man, oh man, he even got a whack at it, a second chance. Craig Simpson tried to feed. It was a kind of a blind pass to Mark Messier, and here comes Rick Tocchet. Watch his wrister hit Fuhr in the pads. It comes right back out to Keith Acton. Who was that tried to clear it? Boy, he tried to clear in the wrong spot. It was Thomas Janssen that tried to clear it, and he was trying to clear it right up the middle. I wonder if Acton knows his weaknesses. He doesn't have any. Keith Acton, the ex-Oiler. You know, if you play with a goaltender that's good enough, you get to another team, and they say, where do you shoot on him? There is no place. There's no sure thing on Grant Fuhr. For years, people thought you could beat him high to the glove side, and you can beat anybody high to the glove side if you label it and get it high enough into that corner, but it's hard to hit, and Fuhr's glove is fast.
Kerr nearly put that one through. A one-hander, and then down he goes, and on top of him is Hallward. As back up with it comes Tikkanen. Tikkanen flipping one in deep, followed up by Hunter, but Jeff Chychrun is there. Don't remember calling Jeff's name that much in the latter part of the first period. Now turning with this is Yari Curry. Back to the point. Drive. Oh, and that one tipped wide. It may have gone off Chychrun's stick. Spun to the front by Hallward and given right back out by Eklund to Bullard. Mike Bullard bringing it right back for the Flyers. Winds up and shoots one. Oh, and Fuhr knocked that one down and hangs on. The rocket came his way, but he stopped it with 16:39 left in the second.
Watch Tim Kerr work on Doug Hallward. I mentioned this during the Telestrator segment. You don't have Tim Kerr tied up unless you have his stick tied up. I mean, if you want to go body against body, you're going to lose because the big man will just one-hand it where he wants to. He even got that thing into the air with one hand.
See Mark LaForest, lower left of the picture just a moment ago. Gallant trooper here, though discouraged by the turn of events, is right there as the backup goaltender tonight. That one put right through a screen, but scooped up by Fuhr, and he holds on. Sort of a goaltender, which, well, we see LaForest here now near Tim Kerr.
Yep. Mark LaForest fully expects to get sent to the minors, and he was telling us that he'll probably voluntarily go. I don't think the Flyers can send him down unless he agrees to go.
Right.
And not expecting to have much future in the Flyers organization, Mark LaForest figures he better get down to the minors and at least maybe have a great playoff stretch and hope that somebody will want to make a trade with Bob Clark over the summer. Now that Ken Reagan is coming here.
Right. It was with Adirondack of the American League that LaForest authored a championship, and the goaltenders for Hershey in the finals in which Adirondack prevailed were Darren Jensen and Ron Hextall. Puck brought ahead now by McTavish, and just trickles one in that Hextall has. Swings hard to the boards, and around it clicks to Berube. Puck taken by Lowe, though. Flipped one that went off the stick of Lacombe and is drilled right back out again by Wells. They stride back for this one, and getting there is Craig Muni. Berube puts the shoulder into him, and so does Derek Smith. So a Flyer sandwich, but no result for the Flyers. Instead, on with this comes Lacombe. Lacombe's trying to pull his way by Doug Sullivan, but Sullivan says no. Two aside continue the scrap for it, and puck frozen with 15:51 to go in the second period, and the score still 4-2 Flyers. Here's a new item for all Flyers fans. It's a quartz accuracy water resistant sport watch. And it's just $39, postage and handling included. To order, just send $39 to Flyers Sport Watch, The Spectrum, Philadelphia 19148. Toronto ahead of Quebec 3-1 in the second. Boston leading the Islanders 1-0 in the second. And St. Louis, losing to New Jersey in the 2 games earlier this season, has taken a 1-0 lead over the Devils at the arena in St. Louis there in the first period. Mark Messier to take the draw opposite Ron Sutter. Boy, after having seen, as Flyers and Kings fans have this past weekend, the rough squad that the Kings have put together in very short order out there with Jay Miller, Marty McSorley, and also Ken Baumgartner, there will be a lot to pay, probably in Game 1 of that series, and again, if it follows history, Game 3.
It's one of the big reasons the Oilers got Dave Brown, isn't it? Because of those big TNT guys out in L.A. Mark Messier, I mentioned earlier, didn't have much of a first half. He wears the C now for the Oilers, but as the season gets closer and closer to a regular season finale, this man has continued to come on. You can only keep that pride down so long. But it's still going to be a long uphill climb to get out of the Smythe division. The Oilers will have to take on L.A. first, and if they get by them, most likely Calgary.
Huddy winds, Hextall taps. Along for Eklund, can't chip it by the pinching Charlie Huddy. And Messier to the wall, along with Mo Mantha. Puck came back over to Eklund. Eklund guides it ahead to Tim Kerr, moving up with Mike Bullard. Kerr trying to pull his way around Charlie Huddy, and Huddy with a good poke check to deny him, shovels it along, but it is Bullard keeping it, though it is Huddy to follow up. Charlie Huddy looks up for Messier, sent it by him, and Hextall will be there, allows it to go as there's no icing on this play. Puck kicked back over to Anderson, flips a prayer out in front, and it is answered by Bullard, who's able to bump this one ahead along to Tim Kerr. Kerr starts back in. Eklund in front to Samuelson, and Samuelson goes into the net. It's dislodged, and Grant Fuhr is down, but seems okay. Still in the second, still 4-2.
Mercury introduces.
Threaded the needle to Shel Samuelson, but he never quite did get his stick on it. He got his body against the net. I thought he may have hurt his rib cage. I don't think Shel Samuelson wears one of those flak jackets. Dave Poulin does. I know Dave Brown does for Edmonton, but I don't think Samuelson does.
Both Samuelson and Fuhr are okay. New rule, there would have been a goaltending call on that, so there'd have been anyone 6'6" or higher. And Samuelson meets, no. Okay, back it comes to Sutter. Drive, and that one snapped right up by Grant Fuhr. I was born in Indiana. You got to forgive me. I try basketball jokes now and then, and they just do not work. Just don't.
You know, the Oilers, when they traded Keith Acton to the Flyers, left themselves pretty lean down the middle. They had Mark Messier and Jimmy Carson and Craig McTavish. Of course, they always have the guy you're looking at, Grant Fuhr. But they put Esatikainen at center, so they have 4 centers. As you look at Craig Simpson, Glenn Sather has tried to keep pairs together to try and have 3 productive lines. He keeps Simpson with Jimmy Carson, he keeps Anderson with Mark Messier, and he keeps Esatikainen with Jari Kurri. And then he just fills in, so he has 3 sets of 2 that he keeps on lines, and then just fills in with a third, and in that way, he thinks he can have 3 productive lines.
This one sent all the way back deep, and Terry Karkner goes into play. It's worked loose to Carson, but his pass in front just pitchforked away to the glass by Chychrun. Dropped back into the glove of Tocchet, tries to poke it through, but can't. And it is the Oilers controlling in the person of Craig Simpson. Oh, did he get a high, hard hit from Ron Sutter. Rolled back around and tipped back out by Dave Brown. Shots are 11 for the Oilers, 15 for the Flyers, as falling down was Karkner, but he's able to turn it to Proppen quickly along to Ron Sutter. Then back up to Tocchet. Tocchet plays the hard around, and it swirls right over near the Sutter side. He allows it to go, though, and the Oilers are able to pick it up, and Simpson starts it ahead to Jimmy Carson. Then over to Brown. Dave Brown shoveled one that went into Jay Wells. Picked back up by Acton. Had he been able to start ahead, the Oilers might have had to drop back quite a bit on defense there, as it looked as though only one man had been back. The other was high. Now it is Propp. Little tap to Wells. Cut off, though, by Dave Hunter, and worked back across for Carson. But that's stolen by Murphy and worked ahead for Acton. Followed up by Mellanby, and what a hit on him by Craig Muni. And it all for naught on an offside call.
Boy, Scott Mellanby lost a little bit of momentum when he was crossing the line, and Craig Muni came for him right here. You know, Muni missed 12 games for the Oilers, and that really hurt their team. He is one of those underrated defensemen that you really don't notice until he's not in the lineup. And one guy that missed him was Kevin Lowe, number 4 of the Oilers, because they're paired together and really make one of the best defensive pairings in the NHL.
I think a lot of people, myself included, had the perception that maybe the Oilers were a little bit vulnerable on defense. And especially last year in the playoffs, they showed absolutely no problem at all. That's why I think they have to also miss Steve Smith being there, because he was such a tower for them in that series in which they swept Calgary, the only sweep in all the playoffs last year.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that really puts the onus on a guy like Kevin Lowe. Kevin Lowe tried to play as physical a game and does as Steve Smith, but it doesn't show because Smith outweighs him by about 20 to 25 pounds. And there's the pest, Esatikainen. He will no doubt line up against Wayne Gretzky when the Oilers play the Kings in the playoffs. Try and dog him the way he did Mario Lemieux a couple of nights ago in Pittsburgh. And one thing that the Kings do to counter is they send Marty McSorley out to try and neutralize Esatikainen physically and intimidate him. And because of that particular move, it's one of the reasons that Dave Brown was acquired by the Edmonton Oilers. They want somebody that can neutralize McSorley. McSorley played for the Oilers, and they don't really have anybody that's willing to go out there and take him on.
You have missiles and then anti-missile missiles and anti-missile missiles, and they've just been stacking up warheads here for this eventual playoff series that has been obvious ever since Calgary pulled away from the pack in November. Here's a try by Murphy, knocked down by Tikkanen. Work back from Kurri to Esatikainen up the wing. Tikkanen takes a look, has low breaking, spun one in front that's just cut off by Dave Poulin and shunted back out. Very quiet period in terms of penalty minutes. There have been none. Puck turned by Murphy all the way back down the ice, and Ron Hextall just paddles this one behind to Wells. 12 and a half minutes to go in the second period of our game. We hope you're enjoying the telecast tonight from the Spectrum in Philadelphia, along with Bill Clement, Mike Emmerich. 4-2 in favor of the Flyers. All of the scoring took place in the first period of play. Stoppage of play on a hand pass, and the face-off in the Flyers' end.
Flyers have done a good job tonight of standing up. Their defensemen have been up on the blue line and not allowed the Oilers to penetrate the zone, because Jari Kurri, if he gets the blue line, if you simply hand it to him, he is going to cross the line and start jamming pucks at your goaltender. He's got one of the best shots once he gets within range as well. Glenn Sather is mixed and matched and doesn't have the depth that he once had. But you still got to feel that the Oilers are going to be a powerhouse when the playoffs start. I do. I've had that feeling all season long. You look at Norm Lacombe. Doesn't he remind you a lot of Derek Smith the way he plays?
Absolutely. Gives you the shoulder. Good hard hits all the time. There's a drive to the front. Knockdown. Mike Bullard may have gotten a piece of that one. Puck worked along, though, by McTavish, and Bullard right on him. And now we have a wrestling match. McClellan on top of, I believe it's Chychrun.
Yep.
And this one of those rare ones where there isn't a square-off, but rather a wrestling match. Play stop. We'll pick up the penalty calls when we come back.
Two minutes each for roughing. McClelland and Chikrin, which could have been called, "How come you never let me lead?" It was a wrestling match, a couple of bear hugs right off the bat. There wasn't a punch thrown.
Puck comes back to Huddy, and Huddy with one goal, or rather one assist already tonight. Make that 2 assists as he has fired home a couple right near the front of the net. One was deflected and one scooped up on a rebound. So he's been involved in both of the Edmonton scoring plays tonight. Centering pass trying for Huddy, but that flagged down by Derek Smith and rolled the length. Huddy goes back to get this, and we get an icing touch-up and the face-off to come right back near Hextall. Flyers, of course, unlike the Oilers, have no idea who they would hit in the first round, and right now, of course, they're not saying that they're in yet, because technically they are not, and they have yielded 5 points to the New Jersey Devils over the last 8 days.
Flyers have had their chances to pull away from the Devils, haven't they? You mentioned earlier that the Devils just won't go away. Well, one of the reasons is the Flyers haven't pulled away. They've had some chances and let them slip away, but I still look to the last 10 games and how consistently teams are playing down the stretch. That, to me, will determine to a great degree who's going to win those first series. 4 games happen in 5 nights, and if you're a hot team, before you know it, you got a big lead on another team.
Finally found one team that has played that many games this year, and it is Los Angeles just recently. Puck out in front, backhander by McTavish, and that turned aside. Here's Mark Messier trying to get away from Ron Sutter. Messier shakes him, feeds one across for Huddy, but it's just off the mark. Huddy checked off by Tocchet. Samuelson tries to shake it along, but can't. Still persisting. Duels with Anderson. Puck comes to McTavish. Walks right in front, and it's checked off his stick by Mantha. Now it's Ron Sutter jamming one along that's knocked down by Jonsson and started ahead in a 2-on-1. Brian Propp and Tocchet. Propp moving in. Save made by Fuhr, and Tocchet was taken out of the play so that there could be no rebound. Glenn Anderson gives it up to Sutter. Then back along for Tocchet. Brushed from him, though. Lifted by Anderson along to the turning Charlie Huddy and banked off for Messier. Good forechecking by the Flyers. Propp alone in front to Sutter. Couldn't control. Gloves it down. And we get a stoppage of play.
Well, both teams got themselves into trouble. The Flyers first in their end, and now the Oilers in their end. Brian Propp picked off that pass. Ron Sutter tried to grab it down, and if he had grabbed it down, I don't know what he would have done other than throw it in the net behind Grant Fuhr, but a little bit of sloppiness inside both blue lines. Grant Fuhr had to come up with a pretty good save, at least a pretty good awareness on Ron Sutter. It wasn't much of a save because the pass was in high.
Bill, you were mentioning how it'll come down to the last 10 games, and so much of the schedule dictates play within the division near the end. The Capitals' last 7 games are within the division. The Devils' last 5. 4 of the last 5 for the Rangers and for the Flyers. And for the Penguins, 5 of the last 6. Bullard a drive, and that one held by Fuhr. Boy, Mike Bullard has uncorked some of his better slap shots tonight, but Fuhr has been equal to them.
I wonder if he has shot as much as he did last year in Calgary. He had 48 goals last year in Calgary. Coming into tonight's game, Mike Bullard has 21 goals, but you're right, he has uncorked a couple of blasts. What a nice move there. Gord Murphy helped him with a shove, and Tim Kerr kind of knocked that one loose. But when Mike Bullard crosses the blue line, he absolutely has a cannon. Here he is again. Whoa! Just wide.
It is Jay Wells throwing one around that is taken by Eklund. Eklund checked from behind, but the puck worked along by Kerr. In the way of this one is Carson. Carson flipping one that is just 360'd and flicked back down the ice by Simpson. So Hextall comes out to get it with 10:20 to go in the second period. 4-2 the score. Down to the ice go 2 players. Interference is called, and we're not certain which one Bob Myers will be taking off. We'll get the call when we come back. It's 4-2 midway in this game at the Spectrum.
defensemen Bob Rouse and Kalle Johansson and super center Dino Cicerelli will be in uniform Saturday night when the Caps take on the New York Rangers. The action starts at 7:30 on the home of the Capitals, Home Team Sports.
Watch the players in front of the open net. One is Gord Murphy, number 3 of the Flyers, and there he does pull down Craig Simpson. So interference is the call. The Oilers are 1 for 4 in their power play. They go on power play number 5, and their face-off is just about where they'd like it. Ron Hextall's left in deep.
They use Carson along with Simpson, the near side, Huddy on the near point, and Thomas Jonsson on the far one, and he controls it now. It is rolled back off toward Jimmy Carson. Worked right back along, though. Stepping in is Lacombe. Lacombe and Simpson out there, and Simpson taps to the point. Jonsson a drive and a stick save made by Hextall. Rebound picked up by Kartner and advanced back up the wing to Dave Poulin. Poulin and Ron Sutter, and it's brushed away from Poulin and taken now by Jonsson. 30 seconds gone on the Edmonton power play. Oilers trailing here 4-2, 9:45 to go in the second period. Puck shoveled back in deep by Lacombe, and Hextall has this one, flinging it around the boards, and Prop just allows it to go back down. Charlie Huddy pursued by Poulin, who already has a shorthanded goal tonight, his 5th of the year. Halfway toward the leader, Mario Lemieux with 10. Esa Tikkanen of the Oilers is 3rd with 8. Messier with a pass, that broken up by the defensive Kartner. Still they work on it, and it is rolled right to Terry Kartner. Kartner just scoops one across. Shell Samuelson will play it off the boards and take a look and flip one that's directed down by Poulin.
Boy, the Flyers are giving their forwards so much support. Terry Kartner moved over to support Brian Prop that time, and they just overloaded on one side. Believe it or not, the Flyers are down a man, but because they're smart, they moved over, and they actually had a 3-on-2 situation outnumbering the Oilers. That's how they broke up the play.
Samuelson, what a hit into the wall. He put that time on, I believe it was Simpson. Puck comes right back along, and it is fed to the point to Tikkanen. His shot is sticked away by Hextall. Yes, it was Simpson as he's moved to the front of the net and takes a cross-check from Hextall. Now Tikkanen dealing it back across to Messier. Pass broken up by Derek Smith. Starts out along with Pelle Eklund. Smith bringing it back in. Has Eklund at the front. Knocked it wide. Rebound poked along by Thomas Jonsson down to the last 5 seconds on the power play as the play comes through to Messier. Has Curry wide on the opposite wing. The drop-off comes to Glenn Anderson. Sets up Curry. Drive is a stick save, and it's hacked high to the air and over the glass by Hextall. 8 minutes, 14 seconds to go in the second. A face-off near Hextall when we come.
Eye off this puck. He follows the rebound off of his own pads up into the air. And before Glenn Anderson could streak in front to get it, he has already batted it up into the crowd.
Here at the Spectrum Fronton. We, the players, salute you. Puck sent wide off the faceoff. Chopped loose now, and it is Anderson trying to center one. Able to get it back to Hallward, then Anderson chopped at one that was slowed down by Tocchet. We have a stoppage of play, and Ron Sutter locked up with McTavish at the goal.
Yeah, Bob Myers is going to take them both. Ron Sutter was dogging Craig McTavish, Mike, and moving him out of the way, trying to push him out of a dangerous zone. McTavish came down pretty hard with his stick on Sutter, and then Sutter went right to him.
McTavish had an interesting story about his helmet. I'm not sure if it's true. He wore it for the first time, really, to keep it on at the beginning of the year. He said the coaches were picking me out too easily from the high replay.
Pretty good point. Top of your screen. See the two at the top? McTavish has already come down with a stick on Sutter, and now you see Sutter just taking it right to him. He didn't see the original clunk by McTavish, but he came down pretty solidly on Ron Sutter's shoulders with his stick.
League has really been tight on high sticks of any kind this year. Penalties will cancel. They've noticed the trend as more and more players have gone to face masks of sticks coming up even more, and so this is one way to counter it by handing out major penalties whenever an injury occurs. And there have been over 100 of those handed out this year. Puck picked up by Poulin, hands back on to Scott Mellanby. Watched by Hallward, little pass to Poulin. Ridden out of the play, though, by Simpson. There'll be a penalty coming up to the Oilers. It is Mellanby. Mellanby behind, had the puck knocked away. They hand pass it around, but it comes to Samuelson. then behind for Mellenby. Turn back off the stick of Poulin, and we get a stoppage of play. And it'll be Kelly Bookberger. I mentioned Simpson, but it's 16, not 18. Bookberger who will go to the penalty box.
You never know what you're going to get when you keep your legs going, and that's exactly what Dave Poulin did. He didn't get the shot on net that he wanted, but here he draws the penalty. He has tried to drive by Kelly Bookberger, and Bookberger just drags him down, so the Flyers take their #1 ranked power play back out onto the ice. The Pittsburgh Penguins technically were #1 2 nights ago, but they went 1 for 9 against the Edmonton Oilers in Pittsburgh, and because of that showing, that put the Flyers back into first place. #1 overall for the Flyers on power play, #3 in penalty killing, special teams index of 4 overall. That leads the NHL.
Calgary has had the lead for the longest time in that special index that Phil and I have developed. Ranking of power play and penalty killing, 1 through 21 added together to get a total that for the better teams is a low number, just like in golf. Puck spun back down by Gregg. Flyers are 1 and 3 for 4 power play and penalty killing. Calgary, Detroit, and Edmonton are the other 3 teams that are near the top. Puck worked back ahead and misses for Tocchet. Deflected along by Gregg, brought in by Mellenby, then to Tocchet. Little tap for Bullard, but that denied by Hallward, and it's lifted back down.
You know, sometimes you're almost better to get the puck out of traffic. The Flyers forced it into traffic there, trying to get a shot. But when you have the man advantage, there's always a place to hide and get set up. That time the Flyers, instead of pulling away from traffic, went into it.
Pass tipped away from Tocchet. Craig Muni shoved off by Tocchet. Good hit. Just missed by Mellenby on Kevin Lowe. Puck turned back by Muni. Connects up the wing with Curry. They've got a 2-on-1 with Lowe. Back defending is Kartner. And Curry lost it off his stick and then just plays it around the boards. Tocchet ties up with Lowe, and coming by hoping to pick it loose was Mellenby. That didn't work. It is swung back across by Wells. Advanced up the wing for Tocchet, but off his stick and retrieved by Lowe. And the Oilers, shorthanded, have just 40 seconds more to kill off. They trail in the game 4-2, 6 minutes, 10 seconds to go here in the second period. Back up comes Pelle Eklund. Eklund backhands one in front, directed away by Fuhr. And it is Tikkanen trying to chip it further, got it away from Mo Mantha. But Curry did not have the stick meeting the ice at the time, and the puck went right by. Now it is Lowe, putting it on the turning stick of Mark Messier. Messier trying to get by Eklund, can't do it. Puck brought back on by Mo Mantha. Mantha took a stick of Lowe, rolled it back in deep, and Tim Kerr goes to get it. Kerr tries to yank it away from Muni, got help from Pelle Eklund. Kerr wanting to sachet looses. Mantha fires one, juggled by Fuhr, and poked away from the onrushing Eklund by Messier. Spun back off Anderson. Penalty time is up. Glenn Anderson moving it ahead, has it on the wing to Bookberger. Bookberger centers, but that deflected away by Mantha. And Hextall hung up behind the net. Mantha comes by to help out, and they try to pin it to the boards. Still, the battle continues. Puck comes out in front, and Anderson with a shot that went off the glass. Now it is spun by Bookberger. Still trying to work it along. Bothered there by Mantha, and the puck jabbed away, but Jimmy Carson has it. Beats through traffic, and Huddy put it in on goal, and Hextall will just hold on this time. No scoring here in the second. It was all in the first. 6 total goals. The Flyers. Boston leading the Islanders 1-0 in the second now, and of interest to the Flyers is that St. Louis has a 4-0 lead on New Jersey in the first. Huddy a shot, and that one went off of Jeff Chychrun. Poulin trying to get to it, spun one around the boards, and Derek Smith after it, pursued by Thomas Janssen. They cancel one another, but Chychrun there to float it along, came out to Carson, quick shot to goal, Jimmy Carson. And for Carson on the year, that is goal number 43. He's gotten his team back to within 1.
It didn't take Jimmy Carson long to get rid of this shot, but he was in an area of the ice that's a pretty vulnerable area. He moved out of the pack, and before Doug Sullivan could get back in to make contact that knocked Carson down, he got his shot away. There's Carson moving away from the pack. That's the whole key to that goal. Carson was not standing there waiting for it. He moved to the spot. There's Carson on the left of your screen, and you can see the pileup along the boards. Play came right out to him, and he teed it up and found a spot right between Ron Hextall's legs.
Janssen gets the lone assist on it at 15-14. The Oilers have closed the gap to 1. Puck spun along by Chikrin, but taken by Huddy, and over the shoulder of Karkner it sails. Terry Karkner had that one poke checked away, so Hextall is there. Sends it off the boards. Thomas Janssen wants it, but Brian Propp gets it and put it off the blade of the stick of Sutter. And Sutter pestered from behind, and a penalty will be called. Again, the Flyers will get a power play, and Thomas Janssen seems upset, but will head to the box. 4:10 to go in the second period, and the Flyers to get power play number 4.
Edmonton penalty number 23, Thomas Janssen, 2 minutes for hooking.
Here's a look at it. Ron Sutter got body position on Thomas Janssen, and that's why he had to hook him. So number 1 against number 1 again. The Flyers power play against the Oilers penalty killing. It's amazing that the Flyers were number 16 last year overall. That's what their ranking was, and they've gone to number 1. And Mike Keenan never practiced the power play. This year the staff practices it, and they don't necessarily practice set plays. What they do is they practice how to read what the opposition is doing. You take what the opposition gives you, but before you take it, you have to recognize it. And that's exactly what Andy Murray and Mike Eaves have tried to teach the Flyers this year. They've done a good job. And the Oilers, very aggressive on their penalty killing. You don't know what they're going to give you, and they don't give you very much time to figure it out because they're always coming at you, and when one guy moves, everybody moves. They're a pretty finely honed unit the way they kill penalties.
Textbook way to break that up when the opposition is real aggressive.
Exactly. You have to move the puck very quickly and make sure you act fast no matter what you do.
Propp with a shot that went wide. Now it is Eklund. Tries to get it to Kerr in front, but the defense denies him. It is Messier, can't get it by Murphy. Wrist shot slowed by Eklund in front, couldn't get the shot away, or if he did, Grant Fuhr miraculously blocked it. Puck worked along by Propp, turns it back over to Eklund, flips one to the front, Propp battling for it. Along it comes now McTavish nearby, but it's Eklund rolling it along to Brian Propp. Propp banks it back to Eklund, Kerr has moved to the net, puck worked to the back to Wells. Then along for Eklund, but it's spun back to Propp. Came to the front, was hoisted away by Hallward. Now to Murphy. His shot deflected in front. Kerr with a shot, and it's held at the side of the goal, and then juggled, but the whistle blown as Grant Fuhr closed off that side.
You know, the amazing thing about Fuhr, Mike, is that he just throws himself back and forth from side to side of the net, but never seems to lose position. He had it there on Tim Kerr, and you could see that Tim Kerr didn't have much to shoot at. Another look at the Kerr chance. I'm still curious, as you are, Mike, as to what happened on the Eklund chance. See how quickly Fuhr got over there. He just never seems to lose position, and that's hard to do. He doesn't have cleats velcroed all over his body, you know, when you start sliding from one side to the other. Here's Eklund's chance. He pulls it to his forehand. What happens? Oh, he just missed it, didn't he? Yeah. Slid off his stick. He pulled it perfectly and then never got the shot away.
Good pursuit by our cameramen and videotape operators to quickly wheel that one out for us. Thank you, gentlemen. 3:15 to go in the second period. Flyers ahead in the game by a count of 4-3. A minute to go on the power play. It's half over. Leading it out is Terry Karkner. Blast one that ricochets around to Tocchet. Tocchet, watched by Muni, moves right toward him, so this one popped in the air. Mike Bullard controls, but that one broken up and started back out by Esa Tikkanen. Can he get free? A pass over to Curry. He scores! Jari Kurri has tied the game with a shorthanded goal.
Mike Bullard's not happy about this, and he shouldn't be happy about it. He had a chance to leave the puck for Mo Mantha. Not only did he not leave it for him, he picks it up here and tries to make this pass to Terry Karkner. Now the foot race is on. Bullard's able to catch Tikkanen, but Jari Kurri got position on Terry Karkner and let the shot go that beat Ron Hextall. Here it is, watch. Now Tikkanen's just trying to hold up Bullard at that point. Yep, to the short side, and the Oilers have tied it 4-4.
Both teams with a shorthanded goal tonight. Kurri, his 36th goal of the year. Tikkanen gets the only assist at 17:08. And the Oilers just battle right back. Here is Kurri setting one up and trying to stagger by was Craig Muni. There'll be a penalty coming up against the Flyers. And this was still 20 seconds of a shorthand situation for Edmonton. So now the two teams will both be short, and then the Oilers will get a power play opportunity and a chance to break the tie.
Well, you're seeing some of the stamina that the Oilers have shown of late. A team that has won 6 consecutive hockey games is what the Flyers are facing tonight. They just didn't come into this rink unprepared. So in spite of the lead that the Flyers had, there was the trip by Tocchet. The Oilers have continued to play a reasonably disciplined style and just wait for what was given to them. You know, they remind me a lot of Patrick Division teams. I think they still have a little more firepower than most Patrick Division teams, but this isn't a Smythe Division team we're seeing the way it used to be. The Oilers play to a great degree the way Smythe Division, or the way Patrick Division teams do, very defensively at times.
They seem to have the size to work the boards real well, too, don't they?
They do, and they've adjusted to the personnel that they have. Paul Coffey, when he left, he made them immediately a better defensive team. Certainly there was a big chunk of offense gone, but his departure made them a better defensive team. And without Wayne Gretzky, they simply have had to learn how to play better defense because they're not going to score as often.
Their power play was just awful earlier in the year, but it has improved as the Oilers have improved in their own right down the stretch here. They're roughly 1 for 4 in recent weeks on their power play, and 25% you can live with at any time. Overall on the year, though, their percentage is 20 because of the dry spells that they had from October through December. Jeff Chikrin takes this one. In 15 seconds, the Oilers will gain a man and work on the power play. 2 minutes, 20 seconds to go in the second period. Our game is tied at 4. Greg Muni goes back away from Sutter, rolled it over to Lowe, and then Lowe turned it over to Curry, puts on a little shift to Shake Poulin. Out of the penalty box comes Thomas Janssen, and the teams now have a power play situation operating. The Flyers are shorthanded for the 5th time tonight. Tikkanen drops one back over for Mark Messier. The Oilers very cautious here, and Messier now just turning and heading back. Flipped that one ahead, and Jay Wells ridden off by Tikkanen, puck taken by Sutter, and he makes them chase.
Good press by the Flyers. You can see how hard it is to penetrate the zone and set up your power play when you have no speed to attack the line with. The Flyers just ate them like sitting ducks on that one with a press.
And Poulin cancels out that Oilers pass play. Now it's Jari Kurri wanting to wheel back along. Plays the heart around, and Hextall slugs it right out of the air. Along to Jay Wells. And Wells lifts one out that's into the glove of Dave Poulin. He had Prop darting away, but could not control in time to send one to him. 50 seconds of power play time to go. We're down to the last minute and 15 seconds of the second period. Game tied at 4. Trying to work his way in is Carson, and that one denied. Eklund just flung it back out. Huddy, Janssen, and over to Simpson, and back again to Thomas Janssen. Now Glenn Anderson back out from the bench. Down went Derek Smith, and about 17,000 fans wanted an arm to come up, but none did. Anderson moves in, has Simpson at the goal. A pass is fanned on by Carson as it had been chipped away and sent back down. Clock ticks down to 15 seconds on this power play and 42 seconds in the period. Puck worked ahead to Anderson. Tries to get through the defense, but denied by the long reach of Kjell Samuelsson. Hextall moves back to his goal crease as Kartner takes over in the corner. Puck worked back by Carson. Controlled at the point and handed on to Hallward. Hallward angles one off. Penalty time up. Centering pass knocked wide. Now it's picked up and thrown out by Anderson, and that couldn't be controlled. And here's Keith Acton. Speeding ahead for the Flyers. Has Tocchet moving. Gives to Samuelsson. Samuelsson to Sutter, and the shot went wide. Good setup that time by the Flyers. Down to the last 10 seconds of the period. Ron Sutter feeds it along for Wells. Threw one wide, and Gregg goes down, and there'll be a penalty coming up to Keith Acton of the Flyers with 3 seconds left in the period.
Going to be a tough way to open up a third period. Randy Gregg was pulled down by Keith Acton. Gregg looks like he's in some pain. It sure was a perfectly executed 3-on-2 before this, though. There he is falling down. Did he pull his shoulder back? Hard to say.
57 seconds. Keith Acton, Flyers, give it a minor. Hooking.
So Keith Acton will sit. That's all the Oilers need is another injury on defense. They've been hurting back there all year. Muni, Steve Smith. Randy Gregg's missed a little bit of time, too, this year.
Problem before, I think, has been more with a chronic groin problem than anything else, but...
Exactly. Ron Sutter had a good chance here. Kjell Samuelsson comes down and dumps it to Ron Sutter. Now, the reason that there was an opening there, look at the two Flyers right in front of Grant Fuhr. Rick Tocchet had put his head down and just barreled for the net. That drew the defenders back. Gave Ron Sutter a chance to get the shot away. Just pushed it wide.
Power play number 7 for the Oilers will get very little thrust here in the final 3 seconds since the faceoff is just outside their line. Chopped back by McTavish, and that's it. So the Flyers will have to kill off some power play time when the third period gets underway. 2 goals in the period. Carson from Janssen. Carson's 43rd at 15-14. And then Yari Curry shorthanded, his 36th from Tikkanen at 17:08. Shots through 2 periods, 20-19 Flyers. The game tied at 4.